He is 3 years into his Elite Series career and never been out of the top 20 in Angler of the Year. And 2 of those years, he was in the top 10. This week, we got Drew Cook on.
I'm Bob Cobb from the Bassmaster. Welcome to Mercer.
Happy Wednesday, all, and welcome back to another edition of the Awkwardly Honest Fishing Podcast that goes by my last name, which is Mercer. And let's just jump into this week's show because it is a good one. I mean, this dude's only been on the Elite Series 3 years, but you want to talk about a horse that you want to back. 3 years on the Elite Series and only been out of the top 10 once an Angler of the Year race, and that year he was 18th, so he's never been out of the top 20. An amazing competitor, and he's had that crazy competitive drive since day number 1. And we get to get inside his being here today, the one and only Drew Cook. I'll let you get all balanced. You feeling balanced?
Yeah, I was trying to get it up a little bit higher. I had to put it on a spool line.
Do you want to go get another tackle box or something before we get started? Or should we? I mean, this is a pretty Drew Cook starting right here. What are you doing? I mean, last time I saw you, you weren't a father. You've accomplished a lot since we last hung out.
Yeah, there's been all kinds. I've had, when it rains, it pours here. I had a brand new baby, had my shop, and got a new truck all the same day. My shop was put up. We had our little baby boy, and my truck was delivered. It was like, we just got to do it all at one time. But, the baby's doing good. Mama's doing good. And it's been fun having him around. He's been, he's still little, so I took him deer hunting on Sunday for his first time.
Yeah.
He spends a lot of time out here in the shop with me in his little bassinet. So it'll be fun.
It's a pretty cool time. Fatherhood, did it shock you? I mean, because it did me. I'll be honest. When you go to the meetings and you go to the appointments and you hear the heartbeat, and that is a magical moment and everything. But it didn't seem real for me until like the baby arrived. And it was honestly one of the greatest natural highs I ever experienced in my life. And I've experienced a lot, trust me.
You hear it all the time about how it changes your life, and I get it. But it really does. Just how magical all that is, how amazing it all is that, how all that comes about. And, it was very, very surprising. And the poor little fella, he looks just like me. He's got my butt chin and everything. So hopefully he acts like his mama, but, it was a very amazing deal. And as soon as it happens, you start thinking about everything so different. Like, I got to get life insurance and I need a 401k, stuff like that. And it makes you have a different outlook on everything.
Do you think as a tournament, I mean, the truth won't be told until you go through a season, but you're feeling now, do you think that will motivate you more to succeed in tournaments, or will you just be baby daddy who just wants to get home?
No, I definitely think that, and I'm the kind of guy, I mean, I do it already. I put so much stress on myself and so much pressure on myself to do good. I think now it'll just be even more, because I would really love to, have a really good year and let it be able to have Jen, travel with me for a couple, while he's still small, until he's probably 4 or 5, and then, send him to school and let him have some social skills. But it would be nice. And I think it definitely will change how it all happens, but I think it'll be for the better, not the worse.
You say that he's a lot like you. So I'm one of your great traits that, I make fun of all the time is you get really grumpy when you don't catch him. So let's say you're maybe like a few minutes late to change. Does he have that same anger?
Oh yeah. Especially whenever it comes to the milk, he gets fired up. And it's all good once he gets it, but until he gets it, he's pissed.
Talk to me about that, because as an angler, I think it's weird, and it's like you realize things as time moves along. But as you have kids and you're told, don't tell them to be bad losers. Go shake the person's hand. You can't win them all. You teach them all these things. But and I've said on this podcast before, but when I hang out with super successful people like yourself that made it to the Elite Series, you guys hate losing. It's almost like, is it a wrong trait to tell your kid not to hate losing? Because hate losing is, I assume, one of the things that drives you.
Yeah, and that also has a lot to do with how much passion all of us have. If you are at the Elite Series and you are not pissed every time you don't win, I don't think you should be there, honestly. That's the whole deal. That's the whole point. And it's so hard to win one of those tournaments. I've been so close so many times, but for it all to actually happen it's very rare. And I will cherish it if it ever does happen. But it does, man. It makes me so mad. And especially my trend over my Elite Series career of really, kicking myself in the teeth on the first day and, digging a huge hole and then, having a top, 15 or top 20 finish, but I caught 8 pounds the first day or, had a terrible first day. What could have been? I mean, the amount of top 10s I could have made if I just caught a decent limit the first day of every tournament would be crazy. But, nothing's ever the same from practice. And I think a lot of that has to do with practicing. I'm the type of guy that I don't ever stay long anywhere practicing. If it looks good and I get a bite or so, I'm gone. And that first day, I check everything out, everything I found in practice. And, it always seems like at the end of the day, on the first day, I, find a little something or get a little clue. And then, the rest of the tournament, it progressively gets better.
Do you think that's something you could, because we kind of joke about it. I mean, there's a lot of people who start hot and taper off. They will switch with you in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
But why does that happen to you? Do you think that's something you've got to figure out in the process or whatever? You know what I mean? Because it seems like you maybe go into a tournament not totally knowing what you're on more than the average angler. Is that a true statement?
That is exactly how it happens. And I think it could be learned to do that, but I think you would have to spend more time in areas in practice, and that would hurt you a few times. Because there's a couple of tournaments where, like, literally the last 30 minutes of practice, I found the deal that I caught everything in the tournament on. And, had I spent more time somewhere else, then I probably wouldn't have found that out. Or, and especially the people that put their boats on the trailer before it's dark, it blows my mind. And you would think, man, they must be really on them, but they ain't on them. I don't understand. There's nobody that's going to practice more than me. I'm going to be there as soon as I can, and I'm going to stay there as long as I can. Because there's nobody should have a competitive advantage over me when it comes to things like that. Anything that I can do. But I think I am trying to learn. I fished the Opens last year for that reason. I practiced completely different, and I fished the Opens completely different.
How?
And I'm going to do that again. I practiced. I spent hardly any time fishing in practice.
Okay.
Spent more time really just looking, and if it looked good, then I would hit it in the tournament. And in the tournament, it was not about points. I didn't care about any of that, and I fished like that, and that's why I really did bad in all the Opens that I fished last year. But it was nice for me to be able to fish like that, not to be worried about the points and the AOI. And I think that if I did that and I win an Open, then I would know or have more confidence that I can win, and it would help. I mean, you look at Patrick, but Patrick's really not a great example because he's won at every step.
Yeah.
But I mean, he won an Open on Hartwell. 2 weeks later, he wins an Elite Series.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm going to do it again this year. I'm going to practice a little bit different than I did last year. And sooner or later, I'm going to figure it out, find the happy medium and to hopefully not have those bad first days.
So do you look at those opens as almost throwaways, almost a practice in a sense? This is an opportunity for me to fish a tournament a different way than maybe I would have. And it's not going to hurt me, because on the Elite Series, that's what I feel when I hang with you guys. That's the feeling. Like, the Classic's the only event you get to fish for the most part where you're actually free and fishing. Everything else is pressure of having one bad day, which you can't have on the Elite Series.
That's exactly how I kind of look at it. And, in another sense, I fish those and I'm not saying that I don't fish every tournament to win.
Of course.
I do fish every tournament to win, but like the opens more so, like I will just go throw something that I got 2 bites on in practice or something like that there were big ones. Just go throw it all day. I might catch 3 fish or I might catch 5. And if I catch 5 all 3 days, then I win. If I catch 3 and then 2, then, I got a 60th place finish and I just drive down the road. Yeah. But, it helps you. It'll help me learn to notice things better in practice of what is feasible and what's not feasible. Whenever it comes to something like that, like I can't do the Steve Kennedy deal where I got 1 bite on the swim bait and, I found, or, you find one magic tree and you just throw a swim bait all day until they get, to bite. And I can't do that, but if I can learn to, through the opens to do some things like that, then it would help me.
How much time do you put in when the season ends? And let's just say Elite Series season, because I know opens go a little later and that sort of thing. But when the season ends, what is your process? Do you go through the season and kind of assess where you were strong, where you were weak, where you need to get better moving forward? Or is it best just to, that event's done, and move on?
Yeah, those are gone. You get 1 day after a tournament, whether it's good or bad, and it's over with. Obviously, whenever you're talking with some people that, those days get brought up, but you don't dwell on anything, good or bad, because, if you're still high on your horse, you'll get your teeth kicked in at the next one. And if you're still, pissed off, then, you're not going to fish how you should fish, in my opinion. I don't know. Some people might dwell on it all year and it might help them, but it hasn't really helped me. So I don't do it. So
what I would assume, you've been on the Elite Series, this year, end of your 3rd year, correct?
Yeah. Next year will be my 4th year.
Where would you assume where you were day 1 in the Elite Series, where you are today? Are you a much better angler than you were at the start of this?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a much different angler than I was. I know that for 100% fact. I guess I have adapted to obviously the technology that we've had the past 2 years or 3 years. But the way that I fish and how I fish is a lot different than it used to be. And me and you had this conversation at Champlain. Old me, we were largemouth fishing until it was done. Screw the smallmouth. Well, you can't do that on the Elite Series. You have to learn how to do that. And if you don't do it in the tournaments while you're there now, you're not going to learn how to do it. And, you're even further behind the 8 ball moving forward. I had caught like a handful of smallmouth before I fished the Elite Series. And it was one tournament on Champlain in the opens the year I qualified, and that was it. So I knew nothing before we went up there.
Do you think it's harder for a Southern guy to learn the North or a Northern guy to learn the South? Or is it totally the same?
That's a tough question. I think if you're from the South and you go up North and you keep it simple and, you're almost stupid like me when it comes to the smallmouth, I feel like that's a lot easier. Because you can take a Ned rig, a spy bait, a jerk bait, and a drop shot, and everywhere that smallmouth live, you can catch smallmouth bass. And if you just keep it simple, then you won't have all these issues. But, you know, coming from the north to the south, I think that the fish up there are obviously a lot different, but I would think the only time that it would ever be harder coming from the north to the south would be like Florida. You know, the cold fronts and just having to fish so slow and, you know, just milk areas really. That would be the only difference I would see.
What do you think your biggest single characteristic that you possess, and it's part of you, not a learned thing, but it's just a characteristic in you? What is a single characteristic that you can pick out in you that makes you a good Elite Series pro?
I mean, I can't really think of anything that is, you know, 100%, you know, just me, but
I don't mean just you. I mean, for you, when it comes to this, I feel I can hold my own with anybody type thing. And I'm not talking technique wise. I'm talking whether it be mental, whether it be, you know, anything, you know, basically your outlook on tournament fishing. What characteristic is embedded in you that you think gives you an advantage over some competitors on the Elite Series?
Well, you know, coming into this whole deal, I never looked at it as me fishing against Seth Fighter, Drew Benton, you know, the Rick Clun, all those people. It was Bass and me, you know, and that was all it ever was. And it really doesn't matter what all those guys do. You know, anybody else that's fishing the tournament, who cares? You know, it's just you need to get the fish to cooperate. And if you do that every time and you're not worried about, oh, we're going to a smallmouth tournament on the St. Lawrence River, the Johnsons won it already. So you know, you can't do that. You can't, not at this level. And it does nothing for you except take your mind off of what your mind needs to be on. I would think that's probably the thing that's really helped me, you know, making that step from the weekend warrior to the professional side. And it's the same way whenever I was fishing pot tournaments down here. I didn't care if the local hammer showed up. You know, he still got to catch the same fish I've got to catch. You know, if I find 5 stupider ones than he does, then there we go.
But there must have been, when you were making, I mean, when did this dream start for you? How old were you when you said, hey man, I want to be a Bassmaster pro?
I was 5 years old.
Wow. Really?
Yep.
5?
Ken Cook won the Bassmaster Classic on TV, and I watched it, and I was like, my God, these people can make money bass fishing. Like, I'm in. Let's do it. And from then on, there was no backup plan. It was all or nothing. We were going to do it, or we were going to sell everything we had.
What is that pressure, you know, to feel that way? I mean, I think I've read in the past where you gave it 1 year. You weren't like doing the opens for 10 years. You were like, if I make it in 1 year, I mean, do you, in retrospect, do you look back and be like, wow, it's amazing that we did that in 1 year when you look at the guys that try to come and qualify year after year?
Yeah, I absolutely did. I was very fortunate with that. And I said I was going to give it 1 year. And if I qualify, or if I didn't qualify, but I made enough money, you know, to fish the next year, I would fish the next year too. But was fortunate enough to have, you know, that was the year we had 2 divisions, and I had, you know, 2 really good divisions, and, you know, we qualified. And, you know, I can't, you know, if you said 15 years ago, well, I'm going to qualify my first year. No, I mean, you can't, you know, you can't say that, but I honestly didn't really have a choice. You know, it was do or die, really. And, you know, I fished the nation, you know, all through, you know, my college and even up until I made the Elite Series, I was still fishing the nation. And that is a lot harder way to get to the Classic, but it still is a way. And that was, you know, that was all that mattered. Whether it was the college bracket, whether it was the nation, whether it was an open, whether it was the Elite Series, I didn't care. I was going to the Bassmaster Classic, and I was never going to go to the Bassmaster Classic until I was fishing in one. and I didn't, except for 2019, my first year on the Elite Series. I had to go work the Classic Expo, and it sucked. But like I'd said that for so many years, like it had been close. And I'm like, I ain't going, not until I'm fishing it. And then to have to do it, because of sponsors, I get it, but it would have been nice to have, been able to say, I never went to the Classic until I fished it. But being there in the expo or watching it is nothing like being there and being in the Classic. It is, it's something that I don't ever want to miss until I retire.
What was that one in 19 like, though? Because I always think about that. It must have been so bizarre for people like yourself and myriad of names that came along that joined the Elite Series in 19. And then because the way the Classic falls, you guys were, a few events into your season. I mean, you're the new Bassmaster Elite Series pros. And then you got to sit and watch the guys from the season before. But I don't even mean to focus on them. I just mean that it must have been really weird to be like, hey, guys, so for the foreseeable future, that's going to be our role. You know what I mean? That must have been a huge motivator.
And being there was, it was really weird because that was the first time I had met a lot of these pros.
Yeah.
So like whenever I get to the AFCO booth at the Classic, well, nobody knows who the hell Drew Cook is. We're 2 events in and ain't nobody got a clue. But I meet all these people, and now I have relationships with these other anglers that, I mean, I'm not gonna say that they turned their nose up to me whenever I met them, but they were like, hey, you probably won't be here very long. New guy on the block, we never heard of you before. But, and then watching that whole Classic was, going down in downtown Knoxville, I really wish we would have another Classic there because that blast off was unbelievable. And that, the whole being so close to the weigh-in arena and
it was awesome.
The expo being connected to it, it was a great venue. But, I still wasn't fishing in it, so it wasn't that good.
Yeah, I've just always thought it must have been a weird feeling. You know what I mean? It's the only time in history of the sport that you had a massive group of people. There's other people who are like, hey, maybe next year I'll be there. But for you guys, it was a lot more realistic, and it must have just been a weird thing. Speaking of weird things, you room with Drew Benton and David Mullins. Does David Mullins have a special television channel that only plays shows from the 1970s? Because every time I see him watching TV, it's Andy Griffith or Gunsmoke or something that I'd heard of in previous generations.
Yes, that is. I don't know how he finds the channel everywhere we go, but he always does. And we can't watch what we want to watch because he's Peepaw. He obviously got seniority over all of us. But going back to that Classic real quick, the aha moment from that Classic, I was walking out of that arena and I had taken my jersey off. I had a backpack on and a t-shirt that said, Tackle Warehouse or something like that on there. And a little kid walked up to me and goes, hey, you're Drew Cook, right? Can I have your autograph? And I was like, holy shit. This kid knows who I am and wants my autograph. And that was like the first time that I signed an autograph for somebody that wanted my autograph, not standing in one of those lines at the Classic and everybody signing the same hats, whatever. And that was like an awesome moment for me because like it was, I've made it here and somebody knows who I am. So that was cool. But yes, Mullins does. We watch Andy Griffith, Gunsmoke. We watch any Western, sometimes Spanish Westerns,
Spanish Westerns.
Yeah.
He likes those.
Well, they only play those in Spanish in some places. Those channels only come in Spanish. So. But he knows all the words, and he says them about a second before they say them. So the whole time, all you hear is Mullins and then like an echo.
Mullins may be one of the funniest dudes that only a select few ever get to see the magic Mullins come out. Like he's one of those dudes that I just wish a little bit of that would get on camera one day, because he really is one of the most entertaining people to hang out with.
Oh, he is. And, he's probably one of the nicest people, that I've met traveling. He, he'll do anything for you. He'll always, he'll give you the shirt off his back if he could. Always checks on you. But he's hilarious. But nobody knows that. But he also used to room with Gerald Swindle until Gerald Swindle kicked him off his couch. That could be where it came from.
Gerald Swindle threw him off the couch?
I think Lulu threw him off the couch.
He had to leave. I'm going to have to ask him that story next time he's on. I did not know that he got thrown off the couch. Do you guys work together? You guys room together? Do the three of you guys work together?
We do. Whenever I came in 2019, it's hard. Let me go back. It is hard to work with somebody if you don't trust them. If you can't trust them, it's very hard to share information with them and things like that. So when I came in 2019, me and Benton grew up together. So we've known each other for a long time, and we had, been working with each other before, fishing the opens and things. So me and him, we never skipped a beat, but it took Mullins, a couple of events before he, would ever really share information. And now, it's amazing how different it is working with, three people breaking down a lake, when you can trust somebody. When you can't trust somebody, you're not going to get the truth, and you still have to go back and check things. But the way we do it, whenever we get somewhere, we divide and conquer, and it works out. And it's not like, me and Benton, we share every waypoint that we have, every tournament, whether it be bed fishing tournaments or anything. And it's not like, I found a really good spot, Benton's going to come fish my, start my stuff. No, he's got more confidence in the stuff that he found than the stuff that I found. But at lunch, whenever he's got two, he can run down here and hit some of my stuff and figure it out. And a lot of times, we kind of find the same deal, or, get on the same pattern. Mm-hmm. And it happens. So a lot of times it happens about the same time. And I'll call him and I'll be like, hey, pick up a whatever and throw it. And say, dude, I know, I just picked it up and I've had 4 bites. And it's crazy how that happens. And we're not anywhere near each other, but we just kind of think the same. And, we grew up in the same area. So we kind of fish the same. But Mullins is our deep water guy. He's our deep water and cranking specialist. If they're ever biting a crankbait, Mullins will tell you. At Cayuga, my rookie year, I had like 5 or 6 fish that were like fry garters, or, that were just on some docks and stuff that I might be able to catch. And that was it. I couldn't hardly get a bite. I flipped for, 2 days. And we were sitting in the parking lot, and Mullins picked up a crankbait and said, I'll probably throw this. And the next day I went out there and I picked up a crankbait, and that was how I caught every one of my fish in the tournament. And, he made a top 10, I made a top 10. And that was, he saved my butt for sure. And then go back to 2020, there was a lot of times where Mullins wasn't on crap. Me and Benton throw him a bone, and but whenever we threw him a bone, he would take it all the way to a top 10 every time. And it was like, wow. It was just crazy how it worked out. And we almost got him an AOI, but, it's 1 point short.
So do you think you guys are just throwing meatier bones, or he just knows how to get the meat off the bone better?
I don't know. I don't know. It could be both.
But what percentage of of anglers on the Elite Series do you think work with another angler? Because to me, it feels like it's increasing.
I do feel that there's definitely more of that going on than there used to be. But I truthfully working with somebody like 100% transparent, I bet you 10%.
Yeah.
But working with somebody, I'm probably 50% of the Elite Series is, working with somebody, and working with somebody more than, sitting there and be like, hey, I got a bite on a chatterbait today.
Yeah.
More than that, but there's not very many of them that have 100% trust with each other.
Yeah. And that's where the real magic comes out. I mean, the Johnstons are obviously one of the big teams that people talk about, but I mean, that's the big advantage they have. I mean, that's your brother. If your brother lies to you, you got worse problems in your life than.
And that's how me and Benton did it. Going into this is a business. This is our livelihood. We still have to make money, and that's how we look at everything. And it could be harder to maybe win tournaments or to ever have something, by yourself, like a Patrick Walters at Lake Fork. That's obviously never going to happen. But in the long run, I feel like, it would be better. You're going to consistently be, up there in the AOI. You're going to make the Classic. You're going to make, checks and make money, get more sponsors, everything.
Yeah, works out good. I just announced he's coming back to the Elite Series. Did you hear that?
I saw that.
What do you think of that? Not just specifically Ike, but a younger angler like yourself. When you see all the names like year after year, obviously Polnick and Swindle were the first, Hackney and Christie, and now Porosnik's coming back, Iconelli's coming back. Is that good? I've been waiting to compete against these guys.
That's exactly what it is.
Good.
That was probably the biggest letdown that I had whenever I made the Elite Series. All the people that that I wanted to beat. I wanted to beat Kevin Van Dam. I wanted to beat Gerald Swindle and Christie. I wanted to catch him on a spinnerbait better than Christie. I don't know if that'll ever happen, but damn, I wanted to do it. And I didn't have that opportunity that first year, and it was kind of like a letdown almost. But now they're coming back. I love it. That's how it should be. We should have the best of the best, and this should be, the cream of the crop.
Oh, it gets better and better every year, and it almost feels like to me because it's the same history. Like it's all like the Elite Series built up before. I remember, when I first started the Elite Series, people were like, "We're pretty close to having everyone." And more would enter, and then it got so strong. I think honestly, the Elite Series became part of its own worst enemy because if you look at those last few years, just look at the names and tell me who's not going to make a check, not who's not going to make a check. And you go through it and you're like, wow, like it almost became too hard on itself, but that's how it's always going to evolve. I imagine it's just going to keep getting harder and harder. Again, that's competition, I imagine.
Yeah, and a lot of the egos have probably had something to do with it there, but I think a lot of those people are maybe going to check those at the door this time.
All right, who was your favorite pro growing up?
Growing up, Greg Hackney and Kevin Van Dam. I actually wrote my term paper in high school on Kevin Van Dam from Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Really?
Yep. And I gave it to Kevin Van Dam when they opened up a boat and tackle shop here in Tallahassee. And I actually skipped school, and he was there, skipped school and went there to meet him. I got a picture with him, got a signed, Series 5, Sexy Shad, crankbait, and I gave him my term paper.
Why didn't you choose to write it on Greg Hackney? And do you think that'll hurt your relationship now that you compete against him?
Hard to find things out about Greg Hackney.
True. It really is true. You're right. He built a wall around himself.
He did.
The genius though, the guy who can get stuff about anyone that amazes me is Zona, though. Like, he can make people say things and do things that they would. I mean, you're a prime example. It's amazing his ability to get that out of people. I mean, I don't think Zona gets enough credit for that. And he will also
put you in a very awkward situation.
He likes awkward. He
loves awkward. He feeds off awkward. The first time I ever had a camera in my boat with me, besides like a couple of college tournaments, was whenever we did the Zona show. Whenever he came down for a week, we did 2 Zona lives in a Zona show, and he's just as crazy as you see him on TV. What you see is exactly how he is. And
100%.
Where he comes up with some of the names he calls things is a great question.
Well, he's an incredible talent. I mean, he really is. I don't think Zona gets enough credit because people take a guy like that makes jokes and whatever, and kind of. It's real easy just to be, he's a joker or whatever. But I mean, Zona is I say it all the time. I mean, you look at Tommy and Zona together, they could host Monday Night Football if you ask me. That's how talented they both are. And it's a cool crew to work with, but Zona is definitely a little bit loose in the brain, but it's amazing what he gets out of you guys. Did winning that tournament with him, you got that belt and whatever, and it was just a fun tournament, but did that help build your confidence that not just, and I don't mean fishing wise, but you spent a lot of time on camera that week before the Elite Series started?
That definitely helped. All of that helped. I mean, like I said, you don't ever really realize how big those camera bags are and how much crap that they put in your boat, and how to land a fish around, because they're trying to get the shot, dude.
Yeah, like
that. They don't care. They're there to video it, and they want to get as close as they can. Learning how all that goes down is and I had Davey and Zona there, and
that's right.
They helped me, with being on camera.
Yeah.
And it still took me, and I'm still working on it, obviously, but, going from like, say the first time I was ever on live at Lake Lanier, our second tournament, to the last time I was on live, I'm sure there's a night and day difference, of just being able to talk and Zona and Davey both told me, they said the biggest piece of advice I can give you when you're on camera is whatever happens, explain it.
Yeah.
You break one off, explain it. You catch a big one, explain it. And that's, it'll always get played.
Why is fishing different like that, though? Do you ever stop to think? Because I do think about that. I'm like, if a golfer misses a putt, or if a fighter loses a fight, you know what I mean? You don't generally hear from that person right away. You're not in a situation where you have to document it yourself, really. You know what I mean? Like, if you're watching a baseball game, they don't ask the player questions while he's competing. But fishing's so different that way. Does that, do you ever think about that and be like, wow, I wish we could not talk as much? Or is that just accepting that that's part of the sport? I mean,
I think a lot of times whenever people explain why they lost one or why they broke one off or whatever, is to reassure themselves that, something happened out of their control.
Yeah.
And that's, I analyze everything that happens like that. Like if I lose a fish because of whether it be like a knot failure or my line broke or whatever, there's a reason why that happened. And I'm going to find out, because if I don't, then I'm going to either be scared to set the hook the next time, and lose one because I didn't set the hook, or, I'll break another one off. And then, you lose money like that. Like the Champlain event, y'all only got to see a little snippet from day 3 of Champlain. But I mean, I lost 3 giants, 3 bigger than any of them that I weighed in all week. And it was just like a domino effect until I was able to figure out what it was. Had I caught those, it'd be a different story. But everybody's got those, and that happens to everybody at every tournament. If, ands, and buts. If I'd have caught this one, you could call Mullins up right now and go, "Where'd you lose AOY?" And he could tell you a fish. probably 5 or 6 of them. You
Yeah.
know? And that is one thing, you know, with the point system and all that, it does come down to one fish. If you are more efficient on your landing percentages, then you're obviously going to be better than most.
Is that one of the most shocking things when you compete on the Elite Series? Because I hear that routinely from people. And I believe in your first season, I think I heard it from you when it happened. People get shocked that like how little has to go bad for that title to go away or that classic to go away. It literally, I mean, you get to the top end of that. It literally is one bite going the wrong way. You can't have a bad day on the Elite Series. And I don't think from the outside, I don't think fans of the sport, and I don't think people who really follow sport and even other tournament anglers realize just how important it is that you don't slip an inch. Was that one of the shocking things for you once you started fishing the Elites?
Absolutely. And my rookie year, with 4 days of fishing left, I had a 22-point lead in AOI. Like, here I was a rookie, and, you know, have the opportunity to win AOI and got a really good shot, not just a shot. I've got a really good shot at winning. And dude, one day and everything fell apart. And it's just crazy how it can happen so fast. And, you know, so little could happen. You know, I could only drop so far, but it was like that. One bad day, one bad decision, you know, it all came around full circle. And, you know, I obviously didn't win AOI, but whenever you think about things like that, and I can try to explain this to somebody that doesn't do this, and they would say, oh, yeah, but they have no idea. And the decision making and decision process is way bigger than anyone can ever fathom, really. And once you start making good decisions, you make more good decisions.
Yeah.
When you make bad decisions, you make more bad decisions. And everything feeds off of everything, whether it be, you know, your morning routine before blast off. If your truck breaks down on the way to the tournament, you know, it all feeds into that. It ain't just about catching the bass. You know, it's about keeping your head in the game. And I feel like I do a really good job of that, you know, especially during tournaments. You know, more times than not, I don't got crap until, you know, the last hour and a half, 2 hours. And then, you know, I somehow run into something and bam, 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 and we catch them at the end of the day. I don't ever give up, but you can definitely see some people where they just, the wheels fall off and they're just done. They self-destruct. And there's no reason for you to do that to yourself. You know, you got 90 other people trying to do it to you. You know, you don't need to do it to yourself.
What percentage of your decisions, and I think I know the answer to this, but what percentage of your decisions are pre-planned on the while competing? I'm not talking about in pre-fish, but while competing, what percentage are pre-planned? Like, I'm going to go to this start here. I'm going to go to this spot at 1 o'clock or whatever. And what percentage of them are just instinct? You start fishing and you follow your instinct.
10% are planned.
Only 10%. Wow. I knew it would be low, but I 10% is real low.
And that's really and truly just, you know, where I'm going to start most of the time. But a lot of times I don't even know where I'm going to start. And, you know, we'll be sitting there before blast off and, you know, the wind will be blowing, you know, a little bit further, you know, out of the northeast than it would the east. And, well, I think that bank would be better than where I was going to start. Or you're driving down the lake and, like, I mean, the wind is beating that point up. You know, you got to stop and fish it. And a lot of times whenever stuff like that happens is whenever you stumble onto some goodness. And then after I fish my first spot, it's just kind of, you know, go with it. You know, unless it's like a bed fishing tournament. Now, bed fish tournament, I've pretty much got mine planned out my whole day, really. But no, I just kind of roll with it. And I ain't scared to tie crap on and bring out new rods during the middle of the day. Change line, I don't care. You know, if I'm, you know, fishing something and it looks like there would be something really good to throw a frog on and I don't have a frog rigged up, I'll sit down and rig it up. It might be for 3 casts, but
yeah,
it's going to happen.
It could. Those 3 casts could turn into the rest of the day too, if it works right.
But if I don't, then whenever I go somewhere else and I'm doing something, I'm thinking about going to, I should have thrown a frog on that stuff.
Yeah.
Well, then I'm not 100% in doing what I'm doing. So, and that's like, if you ever sitting somewhere fishing and you're going, man, I think I should probably go, I should fish down there on that thing. Oh, no, I'm going to catch a couple. You need to go. You need to go wherever it is right then. Because if you're not, you've already lost your focus.
Yeah. And I think just from watching it go down, the decision, you just gave a prime example of the difference between an Angler of the Year season and a non-Angler of the Year season. When that and I've seen all different kinds of people win Angler of the Year and come so close. But generally, the dude who wins Angler of the Year is the person that doesn't stop to it. It's just, I should fish down there, and they're going. The second they think of it, it's not, well, I'll give 10 more casts here, and then I'll do this and do that. And they're not thinking that far ahead. It seems like they're almost more reactionary.
Yeah, I agree. And a lot of the good anglers that we've seen do that. But there's also special occasions that then you have a guy like Kevin Van Dam that he literally had to plan out his whole day, the latter part of his career, because, he had to save stuff till the final day, had to manage the boats that were following him, which is something that I don't have to worry about, but for him to be able to do what he did, say the past 5-10 years that he fished on the Elite Series was, kind of unbelievable. The way he went through all that and, dealt with how he could plan for other people's stupidity is beyond amazing.
Yeah. I don't think he gets enough credit for it, to be honest. Like, I really think you look at the 25 events he won at Bass, I bet you he could have won 35. And that is not even an exaggeration. I'm telling you, if you watched it all go down, there's at least 10 tournaments where you're like, I'm in amazement that he's catching a bass, never mind leading the tournament, because it's gotten better over the years with live, but several years ago before live, it was nothing to have 100 or 200 boats on the water, and they'd follow him during pre-fish. Like literally he would be followed the whole day during pre-fish. So, what he did and is doing is amazing, and has been able to do, because you're right. He's had to manage spots and manage areas, just because of everything that goes down. And the thing, I guess, that blows me, he never gets rattled. Never seen him on the water. Like, even when things go wrong, it's just like, all right, we're not supposed to catch him there. We're going to go over here then. It's amazing. I'm going to give you 3 characteristics. One is knowledge, and that's the knowledge of the body of the water you're fishing. Your knowledge of how to compete there. 2 is technical. Your ability to, get that jig under the dock, that, your ability to find the fish right, your ability to use electronics right. And number 3 is mental. And if those all add up to 100%, I want you to give me the importance and percentage of those in you as a competitor. Where do you rank those 3? Knowledge?
20, 60.
So mental is 60.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just stop and think of what order I gave.
Yeah. I said 20% would be knowledge, because it still is what it is. No matter what you've been there before or, found online, it's still Mother Nature, still the weak of. It's all going to change. Being able to skip your jig better than somebody else. Being able to read. Everybody on the Elite Series can read their electronics. It's not like it was back in the day, where, a handful of people could read side imaging. No, everybody can do it now. The live scope, everybody's catching on with that. I think we got like a year or so left on, making hay on that before everybody really gets into it. But mentally is most of it, I believe, or maybe 25, and 50. Yeah, but it's still the biggest part, bar none.
Well, and I think it's also the only one that affects the others. And you stop to think about it. I mean, you can be a mental mess, what I mean is, if your mentality's bad, it doesn't matter how much you know about the leg.
Yeah.
If your mentality's good, it doesn't matter how good you can skip that jig, because you're so removed from it. It affects all the other pieces, I think, and that's what makes it so strong.
Yeah, and like you look at this year right here, Seth Feider, mentally, he was in it the whole time, and we had probably the most mentally strenuous year ever. That there was like 2 practices that, you did what you found in practice and tournament. Everything else was screwed. We either had delays, rising water, falling water, and it didn't matter. It was always something. And, he was mentally tough, and he stomped a mud hole in us.
When you first joined the Elite Series, your goal was just to fish for 11. I mean, I just want to be a pro angler. Has that changed? I mean, I think you've accomplished that in the first 3 years. So,
I mean, yeah, it, I have a lot of goals. Obviously I want to win an Elite Series event. I want to win AOI. I want to win the Classic. I'd also like to one day be in the Hall of Fame. There's a lot of things that I would like to do. I'd like to be at the $1 million mark by year 10. There's a lot of goals that I've set that I feel like are not out of reach at all. Some are easier than others, but like every year we go into the Elite Series. If you ask me what my goals were for that year, to win AOI, to win 2 Elite Series tournaments, and to win the Classic. If that ever happens, if I ever do all that in 1 year, then I'll probably go in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you have to set the goals like that to where, you always got to keep going. And then, say I did win the Classic. Well, I want to win back-to-back Classics, and if you win back-to-back, I want to be 3-peat, It's always you got to keep changing them. You can't just ever be satisfied. And I don't know anybody that ever is satisfied. There might be a handful of people, but I mean, if you look at anybody that's, a winner, like a Christie, every one of them, it's good, just like the other one, but the next one's going to be better.
Yeah.
And then the one after that's going to be even better. It's, you got to keep going. He wants the Classic win really bad. He's been very close a couple of times. And, if you ever became complacent, I think you'd get lapped by the field.
Yeah. And I think what you said is true in every walk of life. I mean, I don't care if you remove Elite Series pros and make it a real estate agent.
Yeah.
The best real estate agents, they could sell the biggest houses. And as soon as they sell it, they're like, okay, where's the next one? Exactly. I'm going to sell another one. And I think that whole thought of being satisfied is the most successful people I know are never satisfied. I mean, that quench, that thirst to do better has to continue to burn in you, I would imagine.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I mean, until all those goals are met, I'll keep those goals, but once those are met, then I'll just make new ones. And we'll just keep doing it. And honestly, one goal that I set and one goal that I kind of thought I would reach, within my first 3 years was winning the dang big fish for a tournament. I used to catch big fish in a lot of tournaments around the house and, multi-day tournaments, but I ain't even come close. If I catch a 8-pounder at St. John's, John Cruz catches an 11, any time like that. But I thought that would be, something that I could do. But as I said, I've changed the way I fish and the way I practice. So I could see why it hasn't happened like that.
Yeah. No, I'd say it's working pretty good for you. And I don't think anybody questions whether Your time will come or not. I mean, the first 3 years in the Elite Series, I don't think you've never been out of the top 20 in Angler of the Year. And I think 2 of those 3 years, you were in the top 10, correct?
Correct.
There's a ton of people who would switch in a heartbeat with you. Would you, if I could make this happen, if I was a genie in a bottle, would you switch with somebody like a Brian New? And I'm not talking lives. I'm talking just like when does it frustrate you to see somebody like Brian New just show up and tosh, first tournament hits an Elite Series victory?
No, not really. Because Brian New's obviously a good fisherman. If you're there, you're a good fisherman. There's no way around that. And the reason I didn't win wasn't because Brian New won. It was because I didn't make, the right adjustments and decisions, and I didn't catch the fish. It has nothing to do with Brian New. No, I wouldn't trade. I would like to win one, but I wouldn't give up my first 3 years.
No, I'd say, most people, top 10s in Angler of the Year, like honestly, look through people's resumes. Like really spend the time doing it. If you look at through people's resumes, and I don't care whose name it is, top 10s in Angler of the Year races are few and far between. You know what I mean? There is the very, very few that contended for it a lot. Other than that, it just comes around every once in a while. And I'd say you've had a pretty good 3 years. And you know what? It'll give us something to talk about next time after you win a title, I guess. I don't know.
Got plenty of time.
Yeah, and you got to get to work. You got to set up that shop. Nothing. Is there anything set up in the shop at all?
I got
just the shop.
a couple of those shelves, but those shelves aren't actually going to be there. That's all going to be the slat board for the pegs and stuff, and then that's going to be a moving peg board. I'm going to have 2 of those that I can move around. I still got to build a loft. We got an ice machine, refrigerator.
Wow.
TV, all the good stuff. I've got a lot of work to do before I can do the man cave thing.
All right, the Bassmaster dream started at 5. When did the dream for this little building start? Because I know every angler on earth is watching that, being like, "That's what I want one day."
It's been a while, but it was never really needed until I actually started doing this for a living, and I'd love to have an even better one. And you could spend so much money on a man cave, on a shop. It's unbelievable. Like what I thought I was going to spend, I have spent, way more than I anticipated, but I want to do it right. I want to, have it how I want it. And to be functional. We get so much stuff now, and I carry so much stuff, and just to be efficient, packing and unpacking my truck and boat will help tremendously.
You're gonna be able to find stuff.
I had a room in my house that was done. All the walls were pegboard, and I had, all my shelves and stuff, and toting it in and out. I would be in my boat in the garage, and then go inside, get something, and forget something, go back. I was not very efficient. And with how my tackle was organized, it wasn't, as efficient as it needs to be. But, it needs to be. We have stuff from, look at this, Mercer. I have stuff that goes back to 45 forevers ago. This is a whole big 5-gallon bag full of dumb worms. Can you see that? They have the hooks already in them.
Those are like Carolina worms, aren't they? Are they called Kelly's worms?
I don't know. Down here, they're called dumb worms or Duno worms. All these, were either citation or hand poured, and I've got thousands of those. But as fishermen, I'm pretty sure that we're all kind of the same.
Yeah.
With we don't ever divest of any tackle or any, things like that. So I don't get rid of anything. And, I have boxes and boxes of crankbaits and stuff that are so situational that, but you can't get rid of them. And like going on the road, you have to take them because if I ain't going to not have them whenever they're biting it, and nobody's going to have something that I don't have. So, because you just don't ever know.
All right. Well, next time we talk, I'm looking forward to seeing that shop all set up, and then I'll maybe come there. We'll do it live so I can steal some stuff. How does that sound?
Sounds like a plan, Mercer.
Go back in and change that baby's diaper. I'm sure it's time. Congratulations on everything. You said you want to do that shop, right? I'd say you have been doing the Elite Series, right, in just your first 3 years.
Well, I appreciate it, Mercer, and I will. Guess I'll see you in about 3 weeks.
Yeah. And there you have it. Drew Cook catching babies. No, having babies, catching bass, and kicking. You know what? I want to thank him for coming on here another week and another great story from an Elite Series pro, and I hope to see you back here. One thing we didn't talk about with Drew, and I really meant to, was him and Drew Benton do an incredible series called The Cut Line. They do it on YouTube. I'll leave the information down below. They go behind the scenes and show everything about them putting together their Elite Series career. It's called The Cut Line. Definitely check it out. It'll be below in the comments. Don't I sound like a freaking YouTuber? I'll leave the link below in the comments. See you next time.
Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, because Bob Cobb of the Bassmaster told you to. You hear?